notes. You see this little thing here about Peter Andreasen. We find that in 1655 he was taken hostage by the Indians, and city authorities paid a ransom for his release. So let's click on that PDF, and this was really an interesting thing for me to see, because this is biographical information on him that actually gives you a listing of the exact ransom that was paid for his release. Please go to the last page on that, top half of the last page. That's great. And if you can zoom on that a little bit, people can see that Mr. Andreasen was taken with a group of people, and they paid 20 coats of cloth and some handfuls of powder and all of that for their release. But just below the ransom, there's yet another story about him. While he was being held by the Indians, apparently one of his servants and some other folks took over his house, stole a bunch of chickens, ate them in the house, caused a bunch of noise. It's pretty amusing. Gives you a picture of the kind of thing that went on in New Amsterdam. So let's go back to tax lot N7. And let's see, on the right-hand side, see these little user tags? There's a user tag over there for beer. But we've been very interested in beer, and especially because what we found was when we tagged all the properties that we modeled, and I think we modeled, is it 27 or 28, Alahan? 28. 28. We modeled 28 properties, and of the 28, 7 of them were involved in either the production or sale of beer. That's 30% of the properties in that given 2-block area. Pretty amazing. So let's look at number N2, which was the brewery. This brewery property is part of Govert Lockerman's, the beginning of his real estate empire. And if you click on the property type, brewery, let's say you don't know very much about breweries, well, you'd have an opportunity to learn about breweries. And in this case, we click out to a link to, go ahead and click out to that if you can, to brewing in the 17th century. Historic Jamestown has a pretty wonderful site that gives everything from recipes to what the beer tasted like. Did children drink beer? Was it just adults? Was it different strengths? All kinds of interesting information about that. We realize that that's an English colony and not a Dutch colony, and eventually we'll probably replace this information with more Dutch-related information. Please go back to N2. Okay, let's click on the Stokes page for tax lot N2. And don't forget to click on the pages icon when it comes up. One of the interesting things that we did with Stokes was we kind of, because Stokes is published as a normal book with normal pages, we actually decided it would be interesting to take slivers of those pages that related to a particular tax lot and group them together, so that if you were looking at any one particular tax lot, you wouldn't have to be flipping pages back and forth. You would be able to see all of the slivers that related to that particular tax lot. And then we made it full text searchable. So if someone is looking for every instance of the word beer in Stokes, it is possible to do that. Let's go back to N2 again, please, if you can close that, Alahan. And again, let's click on the user tag beer. And here you're going to open up another window. I'm on number 32. So you're going back to tavern view. That's it. And in front of the tavern here, we actually have modeled Peter Stuyvesant and Govert Lockermans. In the year 1660, Mr. Lockermans attained the station of Schepen, and so we have them shaking hands, and they're about to go in and have a drink and celebrate his new position. So if we can go back into Drupal for just a moment, click on Content and Ancestors. And go to page 2, and we're going to take a look at Govert Lockermans. There he is. So I wanted to show you this because obviously we had to pick some faces for people for whom we just don't have any portraits. And so we chose someone who looked sort of severe and likely to be successful, especially at brewing, and whose coloring might look like he was sort of Dutch. But obviously, if a portrait comes up later on in our research and we find one, we can always replace it anywhere that's necessary. Okay, so Allahan, let's go to the farmhouse exterior view. Okay, this is tax lot N5. You're gonna have to click on the label. And this house belonged to Gijsbert van Tennyson. Tennyson, I'm not sure. If you walk into that house for them for just a minute so they can kind of get a look at the inside of this house. This was really fun to work on. Allahan and I did a lot of work together on this. That cradle is actually taken from the cradle in Wyckoff House. We photographed that cradle, and then Allahan made a 3D model and skinned the 3D model with the photography. The floorboards are exactly photographic models taken from the floorboards at the Wyckoff House in Brooklyn. And then the people inside are taken from various Dutch paintings, and he did really an artful job of putting them together. Gijsbert, let's click on more information there and go see a little bit about Gijsbert. There you go. There's his house, and then click on Gijsbert. There he is. Okay, you can see that he was a farmer, right? And you can also see that he married Magdalena Well. Let's click on her for a moment. So when Gijsbert, she was the widow of Joachim Calder and had 5 children when she married Gijsbert. He already had 4 children at the time. Their household had 9 kids. That was a really, really busy household. Let's go back. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Click on the user tag for family life. There are quite a number of people that we have tagged for family life in this model. And when you click on family life here, you'll get both male ancestors and female ancestors and tax lots and anything that we've tagged on family life. So you can see as you go down a little bit, you'll see an article on marriage contracts in the Andreasen Gerritsen marriage. And Dr. Fabend has given us a nice definition of a marriage contract. There's a painting here that depicts a marriage contract taking place. And if you wanted to read a book about people at this time, you could go to Amazon and look at that book. So one of the, let's go, from there, let's go back to Gijsbert's page, please.
I think that may have been the park ranger calling.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I think
We're out of time?
we're due over there.
Okay.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Give you a flavor of where we're going with this. This has been done for all of the properties in the prototype. That's just 28 to 300 or so, as you know, the Stella plan. But the idea is with this powerful database behind the imagery, you'll be able to search around yourself and discover whatever it is that you think is interesting to you. So the idea is to make it very user-friendly.
How can you add information to development?
How can you add information?
Email it.
At some point, we're going to have a process where you'll be able to email our documentation people and we can add it in. Right now, we're obviously want to have a secure site, and there's only people who are working on it that can get in right now, but that's changing. We do have a scholarly review committee made up of, chaired by first Dr. Pubman, and several of the people in this room are on that committee to make sure that everything that goes in here is historically accurate, so that when we get a call from the consul's office, we have the right answer. And thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed
Go ahead, Corey, please.
the time that we have left at the Light on the Gentleman exhibit. Again, it's open this evening as the opening. You've got about 15 minutes.
Does everybody know how to get there?
It's every day open between now and September 14th during the day from 9 to 5.
I want to give a special thanks to Charlie, Gary, and Lady Patel.